every other weekend. I said, oh, okay. It's because your mom, she told me, she said your mom really got herself together and she wants you guys back. And I said, okay. So every other weekend, we got to visit our mother. And my mother had changed. She stopped drinking, her house was clean, she had food and everything. She gave us anything we wanted. So one day my foster mother told me, she said, your mother's doing so good that she wants you back full time. She wants you guys to come back and stay with her full time. And I said, oh, okay. So I'm thinking about this thing. I said, if I go back with my real mom and she helped change and she would give me anything I want, because I know some of it's part is guilt too. So she never would tell me no about anything. But if I stay here, she's gonna tell me no, what's wrong, what's right. And I told them, I told the lady from DSS Social Service and my foster mom that I'm gonna stay here. I said, I'm gonna stay with my foster mom. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I'm gonna stay with my foster mother. So, but I wanted to talk to my mom. And I told my mom, I said, you will always be my mom. And I love you. I love you so much. I said, but the best place for me now is to stay with my foster mother. And I said, when I get out of high school, I'll come and stay with you. And she said, okay. She said, okay. So after I got out of high school, I did go stay with my real mother a brief period of time. I did go, I stayed with her and everything was fine. Shortly after that, I got married. So when I got married, I moved to North Carolina. And when I moved to North Carolina, I went to work for a temp service. And this temp service I worked for was in customer service. And the lady who was over me, she left and she recommended me to do the job, to do her job, to replace her. But the president of the company, he didn't want that. So I came home and I told my husband, I said, that job, I don't have any place to grow. And I need to grow. I said, because I would never grow at that job. He said, you're gonna have to stay there. He said, you're gonna have to stay at that job until you can find another job that's paying the same kind of money. He said, you're gonna have to stay there. But little did he know, he used to pay the mortgage and I used to pay the utility bills. So what I started doing, I paid off all my utility bills for a whole year. I paid it up for a whole year. So one day I decided I was gonna quit. I didn't tell my husband. So I quit that job and I came home and I told him, I said, I quit, I couldn't take it because there was no place to grow at that job. And he said, why did you do that? I said, listen, I have paid up all the utility bills and stuff, so we don't have to worry about that. But I didn't want to be there because there was no place to grow. He said, so what are you gonna do? I said, I think I'm gonna go to beauty school. He said, beauty school? Where did that come from? I said, well, that's something I wanted to do. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and get my cosmetologist license. And he looked at me like I was crazy. I went, finished school, got my license, and I went to work in a shop. So this shop I work in was built like a mall. You know, you go in the mall and you have different stores and stuff. This shop had, this building had different shops in it. And the shop that I worked in was the smallest shop because you can get them all sizes, but the bigger you go, the more money you're gonna pay. So I had the smallest shop in the whole building because it costs less. Doing very good, I loved it. I loved talking to the ladies and stuff, I enjoyed it. So one day on my way home, I noticed a house for sale. And I went home and I told my husband, could we go and look at it? He said, yeah, we can go and look at it. So we went to look at this house. And the realtor told me they used to have a daycare center there, a private school. So we purchased a home. We purchased a home, but this house had to be rezoned because it wasn't commercial. So we had to go through rezoning and stuff. So I think it was like every Tuesday, every Wednesday, I had someone to represent me at the meetings and stuff. So the last meeting, I went to the last meeting, and everyone sitting around a group of a table and stuff, and they said, yes, we're gonna approve Ms. Scott for the loan. We're gonna approve her for the rezone. But we don't want her to be licensed for 100 kids. We want her to be licensed for 30 kids. And the guy who was representing me, he said, okay. That's when I stood up. I said, I need to say something. I'm Ms. Scott. I said, what difference it's gonna make whether I'm licensed for 30 kids or 100 kids to you if the house was big enough to carry the kids? So they voted and everything, and they voted, and they passed rezoning, and I was licensed for 100 kids.
Yeah.
My husband at the time, he had a 401k, which you can take money out and stuff if you need it. So he took $20,000 out of his 401k because we had to upfit the house and stuff into a daycare center. I met this contractor who always talked about God, yeah, he was saying God, he believed in God and stuff, and I was saying, this is the contractor I want to go with, because this man is about God. One day my husband was at work, and when he's at work, he can't take phone calls, so I couldn't call him. So the contractor called me up and stuff, and he said, Ms. Scott, we're ready to put the fence in, and this fence is gonna cost a lot of money. But he said, we're ready to put the fence in. I have my guys and we're ready to come and work, but you have to pay for the fence. And my guys today, I seen the guys out there, so I said, okay, he's not getting over on me because he had the guys out there digging the holes and stuff, and they're working and stuff. He had like 3, 4 guys. I said, so he's telling the truth. Little did I know, I gave him $10,000 that day. So the guys was digging the holes and stuff. Remember, we only had 20,000. So the guys, they was digging the holes, working that day and stuff, and they left. The next day came, it was a no-show. The next day, I tried to call him, went to his voicemail. I kept calling, went to his voicemail. A week went by, no show. I called my lawyer, and after she did some research, she said, we can't sue him. You can't get your money back. She said, because he don't have anything to sue. So I was out of $10,000. So now we was only left with $10,000 to do this big building with. So I got on the phone, I started making some phone calls. And I had to take out a loan for $50,000 to finish the job. So I took out the loan for $50,000 to finish the job. And they finished the daycare, everything was perfect. About 2 years later, one of my friends called. He called me and he said, Ms. Scott, he said, I have the money to do a daycare with, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know anything about daycare, but I have the money. He said, would you come and work at my daycare center? And I told him no. I said, because I'm busy doing my daycare center. He said, just come and work at it, and when we find another director to replace you, then you can go back to your center. I said, okay. So I went and I worked as his director. Little did I know he never found another director to replace me. So I stayed there. I think I was there for maybe 6, 7 years I was there, working between the both centers. So he came one day and he said, I think I'm gonna lose this daycare center. He had 2 buildings. He said, I think the bank is gonna take it. I think the bank is gonna take the daycare center. So when he told me that, I was thinking, well, these teachers, they're not gonna have a job, and the kids gonna need someplace to go. So I started looking for some place close to that building, just in case if he lose the child care center, my parents and the kids would have someplace to go. I couldn't find anything, so I kept looking. And the closest thing I could find was an ABC store. This ABC store was closed. Called the realtor, can I see inside of it? When I went inside, a big space, that's all it was, nothing else, just a big space. And he went to tell me, the realtor told me, he said, well, you know, you're really too late. I said, why? He said, because someone else have already put in a bid for this building, and the church is getting ready to sign the contract in a day or so. I said, well, can I write a letter to let the church know what I'm gonna do with it? Because I'm gonna turn something negative into a positive.
Mhm.
So he said, well, by law, I have to submit anything you give me, I have to submit it to the church. And my husband at the time, he was saying, don't you listen? This man is telling you that they have already accepted someone else's bid, and you're wasting your time, and you still wanting to write a letter.